Hi, I'm Julia. Welcome to the Writer's Room again. Today I have for you finally the fourth part of a series that I titled Down East Maine. This chapter is called The Vanished Soul. This is going to wrap it all up about Bethany Ellis and her move to Down East Maine in Millbridge, her neighbor that she's met, Emmett Crowley, her handyman Tom, and a little bit more about a Wabanaki Indian too. So here it goes. It is said once the spirit leaves the body, it chooses the form it will take next, be it human, animal, or perhaps something else too. Scout is digging a rather deep hole today off the back porch. Dirt flies, claws scraping the sand, shell, and rock. Occasionally she picks her head up to check that I'm still sitting here watching her work. I've wrapped myself up tight in a wool blanket, heavy on my body and soul. I cannot let go of yesterday's events down at the beach. It was real, wasn't it? This large bump on my head should be proof enough. I dreamt it, right? The whole Indians coming up to the shore yelling, and that rock, that white rock that was in my hand. Today is the first day in weeks since I've seen the sun. No rain, no fog, it's bliss. I'll take the cold any time. As if on cue with my thoughts, a sharp gust of wind pinches at my face. I pull the blanket up under my chin for armor. I won't go in the house till Scout's finished her excavation dig and my mind clears. Then I hear, "Miss Ellis!" Emmett Crowley shouts from our fence line. I am startled by his voice. "Emmett, that you?" Looking over, I see him standing next to a tall stack of lobster traps at the fence line between our two properties. "Heard you got yourself an egg on your head. How you feeling?" "I'm doing okay. Thanks for asking, Emmett." This small town sure has a speedy highway of gossip, I think to myself. Just then, Scout picks up her head and gives Emmett a long stare before she goes back to her work. She is down deep now. Only her back end and long white tail appear out of the hole, while long dirt plumes continue to launch behind her and fall into long piles. "Miss Ellis, I gotta ask, what you think knocked you out cold down in the cove yesterday?" "I guess I tripped on a buoy rope. I really don't know. I really can't say." "I saw Tom down at the docks. He said he found you there laying with a high tide nearly at your feet." "Yeah, something like that," I reply. "Mind if I come over? Sat a bit with you, Miss Ellis?" "Come on over. There's a couple of those loose fence boards down a bit from where you're standing." Emmett lifts a hidden latch, and the fence swings open into my yard. "What? There's a door?" I say. Emmett laughs and walks through. "Yep," he says. "It's hinged on my side of the fence. Haven't used it in some 20-odd years or so now." I am more and more curious about Emmett and his life and his past. I can't figure out whether I should be scared or just intrigued by you, Emmett, and Tom, and all of Millbridge for that matter. Maybe even all of Down East Maine. Emmett walks past Scout, digging away and up the short path through the sunflowers and dead red poppies with seagrass. He is clean-shaven, his hair is nicely parted to one side, his blue eyes are quick and kindly as he sits opposite of me in a worn, thin, but strong Adirondack chair. "I'm not feeling too well, not too well at all," I say. "You'll be fine there, Miss Ellis. Give yourself a day or two." Emmett peers over and looks me square in the face. "Well, you don't look too bad. That bump won't even leave a dent when it's done healing." I let out a long overdue laugh that warms me from my toes up. "I figure it's about time that someone gives you the backstory of your little cottage home and a bit of history this part of Maine has, too. Most of it, not all, is whales and roses, neither, Miss Ellis. Wabanaki Indians is only part of it." Emmett looks down into his hands and looks up to meet my eyes. Bethany replies, "This sounds crazy, but I saw them on the beach yesterday, coming at me out of their canoes, and the beach didn't look at all like it does right now either. And then there's this. Scout vanished. Tom said it was a Wabanaki dream, but it doesn't feel like a dream at all. I sound insane. I'll tell you this, Bethany. Near to 50 years ago, there was a young Wabanaki woman that lived here in your little cottage. She was kind, a beauty too. She married a man named Pierre Lamontagne. He came down here from Canada as a boy and grew up not far from here in Machias. He worked the shipyard and docks as did most men back then. He was known to be the best at any task he put his hands to, the likes of lobstering, collecting sea urchins to sell to the uppities down in Portland. He did a bit of snailing too, escargot. They like those as well. He may have had a strong back and a better than most work ethic, but a weak man was he when it came to Iana. Scout gives a loud bark from her hole. I look over to her and away from Emmett. Come on out of there. That's going to take me a lot of shoveling to put back, Scout. She ignores my request and continues to dig. Only the tops of her ears can be seen now. What a beautiful name, Iana, I say. Beautiful she was, but a sad soul. I know she was not a happy woman being married to Pierre. She loved another, but was not allowed to be with him. It was a foggy night, much like the night we had a few weeks back. The story goes that she took her life off the dock, which used to be just beyond your shed there. Emmett points to just beyond Scout. But I know better. Pierre killed her. Her body was never recovered, even though the Coast Guard and many local divers spent days looking for her. Pierre told the tale of how she ran and jumped right off the dock and into the high tide in that fog that night after an argument they had, he said. He was such a mean man before, but after she was gone, he was downright evil. Wow, Emmett, that's an incredibly sad story. How does it help me with my memory of yesterday's events? Scout begins a long, ear-piercing howl. She is sitting at the hole's edge, dirty and exhausted, neck craned to the sky for long, sad sounds of mourning. Emmett and Bethany leave off the porch and quickly make their way to Scout in the hole she has dug. They stand close together and peer down into the ground in disbelief and horror. Scout has uncovered a skeleton, old and beyond decayed, but with a white stone necklace dangling between an open rib cage. This could only be one vanished soul who was once lost, but now remembered. Thank you for listening. I hope I gave you a good ending and left it mysterious. Of course, we believe that is Iana and the stone, which would have been what Bethany had in her hand during the Wabanaki story when she was in the cove or the beach with Scout. I waited to lead into and not talk about Pierre throughout the whole 4 stories because I wanted to always foreshadow something very eerie going on, very scary going on, and it still continues going on. So this story was written continuously in foreshadowing, where I constantly bring you back to what Scout's doing, digging in the hole, and then she's getting a little deeper. You can see her back end, and then you can see her ears, and she gives Emmett a stare. But who could it, could be it's all for a purpose. The living and the dying. I'm glad that now I have completed the 4 chapters of Down East, and on to something next. I'm not sure what that will be. I'm still working on some other things that are simmering in the fire. It has been a lot of fun doing this writer's room. This is the 25th video that I put out today, and I wouldn't have been able to do this without my husband, Nick, because he is such a big part of giving me not only the energy, the setting up, but he is a great critical ear while I'm writing my stories. And oftentimes, I struggle with male voices in my stories. So I get lots of feedback from him of how maybe a man would sound. Also, I'm really happy about the subscribing that everyone's doing. I'm up to 50. And I have been putting this out on Instagram, IGTV too, and that gets a lot of attention. I wish that I had as many likes, as many views as my husband had just a few days ago with a little 12-second clip that he did, which was awesome. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. With that, I'd like to wish you to have good thoughts and to say good words and to do good deeds.